What's going on, guys? Happy Friday to you guys. I don't have Fridays or Mondays or any days in between because I do this every single day. But to the hardworking man, happy Friday. Congratulations. You made it through another work week and time to enjoy the weekend, right? And might as well enjoy some Golden Bluted while you're at it. I'll be pumping out some more videos tomorrow and Sunday. So keep an eye out for that. Yesterday, I talked about the Big Ten signing a massive deal that we were all expecting. It wasn't something that surprised us or anything like that. We were expecting it, but there was an added layer, an extra layer added to it. That's what I wanted to say. That was what I was trying to say. Kevin Warren saying that the Big Ten's not done expanding, and we did talk about that yesterday. Well, today there's an actual number. Brett McMurphy tweeted that Kevin Warren told a source that they're aiming for 20 teams. I don't know if they stop at 20, but I know that that's the next number that they're going for. And of course, I put out the video earlier talking about 4 possible candidates out of the Pac-12. Could be split up, though. Could be 2 out of the Pac-12 and 2 from somewhere else. Maybe the Big 12, maybe the ACC if they figure out those grant of rights. I don't know. But they are, in fact, going to 20. That is confirmed. That's not just Golden Blue Dude speculation. That's confirmed. The Big Ten wants to get to 20 members. Quick reminder to everybody, if you haven't hit the like button, that's that little thumbs up, please do so. That's not saying that you like me. That's not even saying that you like the video. It just helps the video. The more likes and the more comments we get, the more it hits that valuable YouTube algorithm. And the more it hits that algorithm, the more it gets suggested. And then more people see it, click on it, and boom, that's how you grow your audience. And as usual, I give a shout out and a thanks to all you guys that already do that without even saying it. I know a lot of you out there that hit the thumbs up without that. But if you're like me, you do have a scattered brain and you need to be reminded. So there you go. Reminder, please hit the thumbs up. It helps the video a lot. In fact, it surprises me and how many live shows don't say what it actually does. They just say, please hit the like button. Okay, well, what if I don't like you? What if I don't like the video? Well, it's not saying that. It just helps the video. So I actually try to explain it. All right, so as usual, I did forget to put the StreamYard link in because this is a call-in show, so I need to give you guys a way to get a hold of me. But instead of doing it through the telephone, we do it through StreamYard. And it's okay if you don't want to be on camera. All you have to do is turn your camera off, and it's basically the same thing as calling in. Let me finish up doing these correct keystrokes. And I think we're good. It was actually one of the more easier keystrokes today, so I think this one. But right when I say that, that's usually when I mess up. So if that don't work, let me know, guys. There you go. There is the StreamYard link in the comments section. Now, anybody that has a question for me or a comment or you want to make fun of me, all of the above, best way to get my attention is the super chat button. That is that little dollar sign that you see on the bottom right-hand corner. Anything that you put in that super chat, I will throw on the screen, and we will try to address it to the best of our abilities. If it's a question, we'll read the question, try to answer it the best way we can. If it's a comment, we'll address that too. And if you're trying to make fun of me, we'll address that too. Or if you want to throw some shade on a rival, a team that you don't like, and you want everybody to know about it, best way to do it, super chat. I just now thought of that idea. I really like that. Shade on your rival that you want everybody to know about it. I like it. At least it sounds good, okay? At least it sounds good. Regular season of college football is almost upon us, guys. We're right around 2 weeks for some people, less than 2 weeks for others, depending on what team you root for. For me, West Virginia, I believe. I don't want to get this wrong, so let me double check. Less than 2 weeks for us. It was 2 weeks yesterday. Wow. This is not a parka. This is a hoodie, by the way. It was unseasonably cold today. That's why I'm wearing it, by the way. It was weird. Today was a weird day. But yeah, less than 2 weeks for the Backyard Brawl. The number one game that's being placed bets on right now is the Backyard Brawl. People are they're really wanting to see this. This is not just West Virginia fans. It's not just Pitt fans. A lot of people. This game hasn't been played in over a decade. It's one of the best rivalries in the nation. Top 10 by most pros that do that sort of thing. So yeah, it's a for real rivalry, not just between the hillbilly bumpkins. Vanny Rose, thank you for the $5 donation. Says everyone assumes that the SEC will eat the ACC to counter, but if 8 teams have to vote yes, Oklahoma State, Baylor, UCF, and Houston could get snatched. That's a very good point. That is a very good point. And honestly, the Grand Race thing doesn't have to get figured out if they're just trying to bring teams in. Now, if ESPN wants to move teams out of the ACC into the SEC, that's when the grant of rights do have to get figured out, because it's pretty ironclad. But it takes 8 votes. I'm not sure the actual wording, like if it takes 8 votes, like 8 teams are like, we don't want this. Let's renegotiate that or whatever. Or if it's to dissolve, and that would get rid of that. No more ACC technically, although they could just restart it. I don't know how they want to approach that, but I saw a comment in one of my videos earlier today that I was like, man, why did I not think of this? Kind of makes sense, guys. Especially with the NIL thing. And, we're seeing the SEC dominate the NIL for the most part. The Big Ten right up there with them. For the most part, those 2 conferences are dominating the NIL. They're getting the best players. And, of course, you're seeing the playoffs. It's basically dominated by the Big Ten and the SEC. I mean, Clemson, whenever they win the ACC, they get in there. But they're really the only team out of the ACC that really ever has a chance. Last year, Pitt won the ACC, and that was the one year that the ACC didn't make it. Clemson was on a 6-year ACC championship streak. They had been to the playoffs every stinking time that they won. The one year that they don't, no ACC. So it looks like from the outside looking in that it is the Big Ten and the SEC that's kind of controlling the direction of college football right now. And the comment that I saw, you know what? I don't want to read it wrong. So let me bring it up real quick. Let's see here. Hopefully it comes up immediately. I don't like having to look like that. So let's see. Make sure I get the right video. I think it's this one, yeah. But it was talking about, let's see. It was talking about how this could be a plan between, where's it at? Come on. Anyways, I'll keep looking at it and I'll talk about it on the side. But basically what they were saying is it could be a plan between ESPN and Fox to drive some eyeballs towards the NFL. Yes, as great as the NFL is, college football kind of dominates it in the ratings. And this could be, I'm not saying it is, but it could be a way for them to drive traffic to the NFL. Because if you think about it, if they create a product that's similar to the NFL, I mean, okay, well, this is basically the NFL. Let's watch some NFL, I mean, and I've talked about that as far as, there's a lot of college football fans that are not NFL fans. Now, there's plenty of fans that's a fan of both, but it is a separate entity. It's a separate style. Okay? So if you take one product that is totally different from another and you make it more similar to the other product and it becomes almost indistinguishable other than the logos on the helmets, then the other similar product is going to start getting some of the audience of the other one. So that could be a plan. Cannot find that comment, and it's making me mad. I had it pulled up just a little bit ago, and it was a great comment. Hold on, let me go all the way down and make sure. Dang it. It was a good one, too. Can't find it. I hate it when that happens, don't y'all? Hate it when that happens. When you're not looking for it, that's when you find it. When you are looking for it, you can't. Let's see. I'm reading this one comment. I saw a notification from Bleacher Report yesterday that UCLA could possibly be denied to join the Big Ten. Oh, yeah, I want to talk about that for a second. California Board of Regents meeting to talk about that. I don't know what the decision was or what's going to happen, but I I mean, I guess it's possible. They can't touch USC. USC is a private institution, but UCLA is owned by the state. State runs it, so I guess the state could. Hold on, guys. I got some kids that are being loud. Let me mute my mic mute my mic. All right, we're back. Good luck with that, right? Kids, keep it down. I'm live. They might have to, I don't know, get on the old iPad or watch some Nickelodeon, something like that. I don't know. Christian Ballard, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Going Blue Dude? How you doing?
I'm pretty good, man. Another day, another live show.
Yeah, so I did want to talk about this media rights thing with the Big Ten. Do you think that because it is such a big deal, and it's shortly after the deal with the SEC and ESPN and ABC and all that, do you think the Big Ten is finally getting around to the point where they're tired? Like, I know everyone always says, tired of the SEC this and blah, blah, blah. But do you think it's finally caught up to the Big Ten and the other conferences that now they're wanting to push and not – I'm trying to think of how I want to put it, but they want to be that mega conference.
And the big problem for the Big Ten is they're going up against ESPN, and ESPN is pushing their agenda of the SEC. I mean, it's a great plan by ESPN, and that's why I thought that comment that I saw in my comment section saying, this could be a plan, by ESPN, maybe Fox too, because they broadcast NFL. This could be a way for them to drive some viewership back over to NFL because college football is kind of taken over as far as that goes. I mean, the NFL definitely holds its own and makes a ton of money. It's not a bad product at all. But college football it has definitely a bigger market right now. Right. So for the Big Ten, I'm not sure. Honestly, something that I hear from a lot of people is the different style of play from the Big Ten to the SEC, and there is definitely a different style of play. If you notice the Big Ten, most of the teams up there in the Big Ten, they like to slow the game down and try to beat you physically on the line of scrimmage. Establish that run game. Not necessarily low-scoring games. I mean, they have some high-scoring games, but it's more like they try to slow it down, establish the run game, and then take the top off the defense whenever they can. When the SEC, right, they're just starting to get all these quarterbacks that's just flinging it all the time. And, that's going to be more appealing. And Ohio State cannot carry the Big Ten forever whenever it comes to, I like to watch that team, whether you're a fan of that team or not. And that's what the Big Ten needs to figure out and capitalize. They need to figure out, how to get people more interested in the Big Ten. And they have a great audience. I'm not going to deny them that. But it could be bigger. They need to grab some more of that neutral. There's always going to be, loyal SEC fans and loyal Big Ten fans. All right. They might watch a little bit of the other, whatever. But then you have this big section of neutral fans that aren't Big Ten fans and aren't SEC fans. And they're just looking for highest quality of entertainment. And right now, that's the SEC.
I got you there.
But I will say this, I think this is a great move by the Big Ten. ESPN backed out of negotiations, but it's still rumored that they could grab a smaller rights deal with the Big Ten, maybe grabbing just a couple games throughout the year or one game a week, something like that. But that still is yet to be figured out. Right now, ESPN's not touched the Big Ten. It's Fox, CBS, and NBC. And they're starting out, each team's going to get paid around $72 million, but that's going to flex all the way up to $100 million. I think it's by year 4 or 5, something like that. And for the SEC, they're expected to have a similar deal, but nothing's been inked. It's not going to be breaking news whenever it happens. It's going to be around the figure that we're thinking it's going to be. So what's happening is the Big Ten and the SEC is establishing the gap. I like to call it the gap. You have the Big Ten, the SEC, and everybody else. I don't like it. I wish it wasn't that way, but it is what it is, money-wise. And competitively, I don't think there's that big of a gap between the Big Ten, the SEC, and everybody else. I don't. Okay, but with this money, it's going to create a much bigger gap. Maybe there's a little gap because the SEC does get in the playoffs, year in, year out. But once again, ESPN and the SEC kind of got together a long time ago. Big Ten has had to rely on Ohio State, Michigan last year. Big 12 has had to rely on Oklahoma, and the ACC has had to rely on Clemson. Pac-12, they're lost right now. They're in the woods without any flashlight. Yeah. So it's and the SEC, they don't just get in the playoffs every year. It's so many teams have been in the playoffs. Alabama the most, yes, but Georgia's also been. LSU's been. It's not just
Florida almost made it, but they threw a shoe.
Yeah, Auburn's been close. So it's not just one team that's representing the SEC, and that's what these other conferences have to figure out. Like, you need more than one team to represent your conference in the playoffs. That's what's hurt everybody else. Last year, I just said it. The first year that the ACC wasn't won by Clemson, they didn't make the playoffs. I don't think that's a coincidence.
No, it isn't.
Nope. I think the Big Ten and the SEC are trying to manufacture another division split. That way they can break off and they can leave everybody else in this lower division where they don't get that much TV time.
Yes. And I would be okay with that if there were two stipulations to it, okay? The first thing is all Power 5 teams, current Power 5 teams make the cut, all right? Group of fives, and I think the group of five should have done this a long time ago, to be honest with you. They need their own playoffs and national championship because they basically – I know Cincinnati made it last year, but they basically have no shot of getting to the playoffs. I've always asked myself, what is the point of the group of five? To get to a crappy bowl if you win your conference? That's stupid. Create your own playoffs and your national championship. So that's number one. Number two, there needs to be an open door policy. In other words, if you see a team dominating the group of five, they're getting to the playoffs every year. They're winning the national championship at least every other year. We think they could compete at this level. Bring them on.
We've been arguing that in the FCS for North Dakota State for years.
Yes. Yeah.
Just kicking them out of the FCS and having to go to the Mountain West.
Like Vanderbilt, come on. Does anybody really think that Vanderbilt's a Power 5 team? Like, seriously.
They don't act like
Vanderbilt's a joke.
They're there for GPA and baseball. That's it.
Right. That's it. Sorgy Stories.
We can't dismiss baseball. I'm sorry.
Guys. Sorgy Stories, thank you for the $5 donation. Says NFL gets more viewership, Super Bowl ratings versus college football playoff ratings. Yeah, well, Super Bowl, that's a whole different animal.
Yeah, the Super Bowl is like
crazy, entertainment. They have crazy ads, stuff like that. That's a whole different animal. That's like that's like a WrestleMania type of thing.
Yeah, you have to compare them regular season on regular season.
That's what I was talking about.
That's exactly what you compare.
Even playoffs, I would say college football playoffs gets better views.
Well, I'm thinking about it like established for decades.
In his example, and it is a significant margin, $100 million for Super Bowl and $22 million for the college football playoff. But you got to realize for the Super Bowl, that's a cultural thing. Like, everybody watches the Super Bowl, whether you're a football fan or not. That's just the event of the year. You watch
non-football fans watch the commercials.
The pinnacle American football game.
I have my grandmother's. One of them is a very loyal football fan. You wouldn't believe it, but another one isn't. She's like, I don't know, 79, 80 years old, and she watches the Super Bowl every freaking year. Who's that team? Who's winning? What does this mean? Is that what are those yellow? Asking questions all over the place. You don't know what's going on, but she's still watching, so it still counts.
Yeah, the big difference with those type, usually they're there to watch the commercials. Usually,
right? That too, and the halftime
commercials can be very.
Maybe we'll see a wardrobe malfunction again. Let's hope for it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like yeah, men are there just if they're not even football fans. They're like, hope there's a wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus,
it's a cultural
thing. The Super Bowl's been around since 1966. The college football playoffs have been around since what? 2015?
2014.
2014. Yep. And to be honest with you, I rewatched the national championship.
Since the BCS era started.
Yeah, and I rewatched that last national championship for the BCS national championship, Florida State versus Auburn. And I don't know why that one gets shoved underneath the rug.
Mhm.
That's a great national championship. I mean, 13 seconds left. Jameis Winston throws a touchdown pass to Kelvin Benjamin to win the national championship, and that was like a farewell send off to the BCS era, and it was a great send off. But for whatever reason, whenever the playoffs come around, that particular national championship, boom, underneath the rug, which is a shame because it was great.
Florida State football died with the BCS.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
definitely,
And for that particular game, there was one play call that saved Florida State, and it was that fake punt. If they hadn't called that fake punt and got a first down off that, Florida State would have lost the national championship. I think at that time they were down by like at least 2 touchdowns, maybe 17 points. They were down significantly, and Auburn was basically dominating Florida State up to that point, and then Florida State, and it was 4th and like 5 or 6, something like that, and Florida State converted on a fake punt. Brilliant call, and they won the national championship because that changed the momentum. Great national championship. And I see the comment where J.K. Marshall is saying FSU football died with Jimbo Fisher. I think Jimbo Fisher actually, depending on how you mean that, like as far as him leaving, no. Him being there, yes. Yes, he won the national championship, but his recruiting was terrible at Florida State. When he left, the offensive line for Florida State was rated as one of the worst in the nation. And for anybody to say that about Florida State was blasphemy. So, and they're still trying to recover from Jimbo Fisher. And he's doing the same thing.
They're struggling to get 4 stars now.
Yes, and it's because of the legacy that's been dumped. Like, they don't have a legacy anymore, like Florida State 2013.
Yeah, they need their version of Bobby Bowden to come back. They need a version of Bobby Bowden just to
a lot of these players don't remember that. I was 6 years old. I don't remember 2013. You know? You have to be relevant now.
I remember Bobby Bowden.
To get that clout. Yeah, I mean, he coached for West Virginia.
Yeah, we played his Florida State.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I remember Bobby Bowden too. I remember when they faced Virginia Tech in the national championship game, and that was like the two. It was against an older quarterback versus Michael Vick. I'm like, most people were saying Michael Vick was going to win. Too. Everybody was pointing that Michael Vick is going to win. I'm like, I went down and out with this older player, Chris Winkie, and of course they pulled it out.
Yeah, he looked like he was like 40 years old. I think he was like 26, 27.
Yeah, he was around that age. Yeah, 26, 27.
And he won a Heisman Trophy too.
Yeah.
But honestly, for Florida State got what they deserved. They screwed Bobby Bowden over to grab Jimbo Fisher. So guess what? You got what you deserve.
Sorgy Stories with the $2 donation says Bengals at Titans $30 million. Georgia versus Michigan $17 million. Well, you'll be able to single out games where one game is going to beat another. Like, that's going to happen. I'm not saying like the college football playoffs is going to beat them every single game. No. But for the Bengals and Titans, that was a lot of and I actually watched that game. And this actually speaks directly to me. I didn't watch Georgia Michigan. I didn't really have any interest. It actually seemed like it was going to be boring to me. But I did watch Bengals at Titans because the Bengals are my football team. Ooh. So there's a lot that goes into that. But yeah, there are going to be some playoff games that beat NFL playoff games beating college football playoff game. Yeah, and another thing is we have got to get the national championship off of Monday. Who is with me? That is getting on my last nerve. I mean, why are we doing that? College football is built on Saturdays, some Thursdays. I'd be okay with Thursday over Monday, to be honest with you.
How about even Friday?
The occasional Maction.
Yeah, the occasional Maction. Pac-12 after dark on Saturdays. But basically, college football is built on Saturdays. Do the national championship on a Saturday. I mean, it would seem more real to me, if that makes any sense.
They can't do Saturday.
The last Saturday of the year. Or really, I don't know.
What's the reason why they can't do Saturday? I did not know this. What's the reason why they can't do Saturday?
The NFL has Saturdays locked up until 2028.
Ooh.
They have.
But with so many networks involved in this, they can't rotate. See, that's what I'm not liking. you actually bring up a good point because it's ESPN that's behind all this. They've locked up the playoffs and national championship along with ABC. And, of course, they also do, the NFL playoffs. And and this actually goes back to the comment that I made before. They put the NFL before college football and lock up their Saturdays. So, once again, that points to they're trying to drive more viewership to
NFL.
the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's quite correct.
And,
So
the other reason they do Mondays is it allows the teams to travel over the weekend. It gives them things to do on the weekend. It gives them more time to spend money there. And that's why they do Monday versus a Thursday. A Thursday would suck because you got all that travel time to try to go somewhere, so you're going to miss a whole bunch more work.
Mondays suck for the viewer, though, because, most people have a job, 9 to 5 in it.
That's the reason why I throw
Monday
out why
through
not Friday instead.
And Mondays are the
idea.
worst days for that, right?
Right.
It's the work week. And I know it gives you something to look forward to, but you got to wake up early in the morning for your job the next day. So, it just makes more sense to do it on Saturdays, in my opinion. I get the whole spending and enjoying yourself. Well, if you want to do that, there's already a big gap between the playoffs and national championship, a couple weeks. Go up a little bit early and hang out, whatever. Do it that way.
But the big thing is, though, the NFL is not going to change their playoffs.
Yeah, that is the problem. I agree.
That's the problem. They want to have 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday, so that way all 4 games can be seen.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, once again, that points to ESPN wanting to drive traffic to the NFL. Hold on, I'm going to mute myself for a minute because they're doing it again.
Well, and see, I don't see CBS or NBC or Fox giving up their NFL because they get some of the playoffs too. And now that the playoffs have went to 3 and 3, there's 3 games now on Saturday and 3 games now on Sunday. So NBC, Fox, and CBS is also making money off the NFL.
All right, let's run it back for a minute. So Kevin Warren tells a source that the Big Ten wants to go to 20 teams. I did a video about possible candidates from the Pac-12, but I think we also need to look at the Big 12 and possibly the ACC if those grant of rights get figured out. So if you have a list besides Notre Dame, we already know the Big Ten wants Notre Dame. Okay, we already know. So let's not count them. They're not taking up a spot. 4 spots still exist. All right. So out of the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the ACC, and also you have let's count Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, Virginia to the SEC. So they're off the board as well when we're talking about ACC teams. Who is the number 1 team that they should go after between the 3 conferences?
Well, personally, I say in the ACC, Miami for Big Ten. Personally, that's what I would say for the Big Ten, 100%.
Okay, so Miami number 1 out of all 3 conferences.
Pretty much that. Then Washington out west in the Pac-12. I'm trying to think of one more other team since there's 2 there. I'm trying to think out of that, maybe even Pittsburgh out of the ACC also.
I don't know about that one.
No, I'm just saying keep a rivalry in with Pittsburgh and Penn State. That's the only reason.
I think Penn State would be the reason why they wouldn't make it, though, is the problem.
Yeah, that's another reason. But
I like Miami. I like the Miami one.
Yeah, but Pittsburgh, I say, would fit because of the football culture, too.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, that's the other reason, too, because of the hard-nosed football scene up north.
I don't think the Big Ten would see any value in Pitt. And
No,
Penn
it wouldn't
State
be value. It would be just pretty much just fitting to your conference in this case with the Pitt.
TND, what about you, buddy?
I'm looking at it as who has the AAU status because you know how the Big Ten always emphasizes that. I'm thinking Pitt will be up there, and I think they'll be up there because Pitt has AAU status. I think Washington and Oregon will be next, and if Notre Dame just flat out says no, then I don't think they'll invite Stanford. So it really just becomes like a guess of who among these AAU schools the Big Ten decides they want to invite. Maybe Virginia. Virginia has AAU status.
Well, we're taking Virginia off the board. There, we're relegating them to the SEC. But I get what you're saying. Okay. AAU. You went the AAU route, which is fair.
Virginia Tech would be another one that would be good too.
That's true. Utah.
Utah, that would be a little sketchy.
Not sure about Utah.
Utah.
Let me get to these donations real quick before I get to Jeff. Thank you, the 304 podcast, for the $4.99 donation. Trivia: how many 10-win seasons has Vanderbilt had since 1902?
Vanderbilt
probably not even double digits. I wouldn't think.
I'm thinking 0.
Vanderbilt's best season is 8-0-1, and that happened in 1922.
0. Holy crap! That is not good.
Oh my god,
that's worse than I thought. John Waffle H2P, thank you for the $4.99 donation. Pitt is raising the brand. We are going to ball this year. You might. You will have a good defense.
They got a good basketball team.
Oh, Pitt has a
basketball team's not good right now for Pitt.
Really bad.
They're a football school right now.
They're not going to be good in football, so I figured if they're going to ball, they must have.
Well, I think they're going to be good in football. I just don't think they're going to be 2021 good.
I
think 8 wins for Pitt is good, 8 or 9.
Yeah, I think 8-4, 9-3, spot on.
Yeah,
and that would depend on West Virginia, and I think they're losing to West Virginia, so I would stick with 8-4. But did you already give your picks?
Honestly, I think Pitt and West Virginia both have 9-win records.
That's possible. Definitely possible.
Jeff,
did you get your team?
Maybe the 8th or 9th win is the backyard brawl.
Definitely. Jeff, I wanted to ask you the teams that have you already given your list of teams?
No, the only teams that the Big Ten are going to be taking if they open up, if Notre Dame says no, Washington is going to be the number 1 team. And then you're looking at Stanford. And then you're looking at, if you want to go and include the ACC, you might get Miami in there. And then you're going to look at either Cal or Oregon. And I think the Big Ten presidents pick Cal over Oregon because of academics.
Yeah, academics is important. That's why whenever I made the video earlier, as far as academics go, I think anybody in the Pac-12 would qualify for academics. Yeah. So after that, you're looking at outbreakers like brand, alumni base, viewership, all that stuff. And I know some do have better academics than others. Like Cal has elite academics, Stanford has elite academics, but are they looking like, does it have to be elite? Like really good enough? Because everybody in the Pac-12 has really, really, really good academics. So I think they would look beyond that. And
I think they're looking at Oregon. I think they would do Oregon just because of their football, their success.
Well, see, I was literally about to say this. I think Jeff is onto something. Because I thought the same thing as y'all as far as Oregon goes. I'm like, man, they're football. Everybody talks about Oregon football, blah, blah, blah. But when you really look at Oregon, they've done a great job of kind of sort of setting up a smoke screen. Okay, what I mean by that is they get more games televised from the Pac-12 than most members. They have the Nike partnership, but if you look at their alumni and fan base, they're not in the top tier of the group as far as brands goes. Yeah. If you actually look side by side, Washington and Oregon, Washington, it's not even close. It's not even close. Washington is the better brand. Now, if the stipulations become, all right, all things are equal, academics are super important, then Oregon would actually go to the bottom of the list. So it depends on what they're looking for. Anybody versus Washington in the Pac-12 as far as membership for the Big Ten is going to lose. It's who's going to get the spot after that. Anybody else after Washington. Washington is by far the best brand, and they have that TV market in Seattle. And not only do they just have it, they own it. They get a lot of viewers from that Seattle market, and the Big Ten would make a lot of money off of Washington.
Yeah, that's another thing with Oregon. The TV markets are not really that strong either.
They're not bad, but Seattle wipes the floor with them.
They didn't make the playoff.
If
Also,
you take
Washington did. They didn't make the playoff.
Yeah.
If you take Cal, it shuts up the Regents.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the Regents are all crying right now that UCLA is going to the Big Ten, and it's just
Yep.
destroying Cal, and it's destroying, So if you
Stanford.
take UCLA, it just shuts them all up.
So, does anybody
Or
know
Cal,
what
I
came
mean.
out of that Board of Regents meeting?
I invited Tony.
Some
Hopefully
of the
Tony
board
is not
members
gonna
were
tell
saying
us.
were crying about how that Cal could just join the Big Ten.
Yeah, exactly.
And then how their brains melt when they say they don't want Berkeley.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do know that it's been rumored that ESPN is willing to put in their TV contract an out for Washington, Oregon, Stanford, and Cal. Like, that tells you right there that the Pac-12 is not on very strong ground right now. They're on very. If you're okay with putting it out in a contract for your best brands, that's a terrible look for the conference. Not good at all. It's almost like you're predicting what's going to happen.
Well, they already know what's going to happen.
Exactly. But wouldn't you want to negotiate the contract to where you keep at least lock them in for 3 or 4 years at minimum?
They won't do that because one reason. Look at what happened with ACC.
Yeah, but the ACC went overboard. Bad
Yeah,
money.
that's what I'm saying. They don't want to go. They don't want. They don't want to play
15
with it
years
in
at the
general.
time of signing?
ESPN actually would like to see Washington, Oregon, Cal, and Stanford go to the Big Ten. They're in favor for that.
Yep.
Because
Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. I'm going to mute this. Y'all go ahead.
If you look with the Big Ten contract, if they gain those 4 schools, ESPN has a chance to bid and get some of the programming. So the Big Ten is not dead with ESPN right now because the Big Ten realizes, and this isn't so much football, but basketball, they need the programming. And so if 4 more schools move over, it increases the games in that. ESPN will get a small piece.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, that works out.
And ESPN could honestly do like a special Big Ten after dark where it's those Western teams.
Right.
I also heard that the ACC is talking to Comcast to help out with the ACC network.
No. That's a bonehead move.
They already lost.
That's a bonehead move if you go to Comcast. That's a bonehead.
No. What they're doing
it's
is
not.
they're going to Comcast to have them show the ACC network because they don't show it right now.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
It's not to give them their TV rights. It's
Right.
to get them to show it.
I'll
It's a
just show it
platform.
then.
It's
It's
an
more
avenue.
restricted then. That's an even better way. If they're just to show it, then okay.
Yeah,
No,
they would just show the games.
Look at it like this. You could have the best product out there, but if you have no way of people to watch it, there's no point. And I'm not. And by all means, I'm not saying the ACC has the best product. They're struggling right now. But point is, you could have the best product in college football, but if there's no way to see it, then it's not going to work. So I think this could actually be a brilliant move by the ACC.
Could be.
You get more eyeballs, you make more money. I mean, it's simple math right there.
Well, and look at the problem the Pac-12 has with their network. I mean, that has been a disaster since the day they started it.
Mm-hmm.
They figured out the TV rights and scheduling and all that, but they didn't figure out who was going to show what when. And it's been a complete disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Tony, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, how are you doing? Will told me to come join the gang.
Absolutely.
Well, I knew you knew a lot about the Board of Regents, and we were talking about the Board of Regents.
Yes.
Oh, are we laughing about the Board of Regents?
No, we're trying to figure out what happened. I know they had a meeting about UCLA, and I don't know what the result of that was.
It was funny. It was funny. So a couple of things. We learned a couple of things. I don't know. What have you guys been talking about so far? I don't want to repeat for anybody.
That they met. That was it.
Okay. So first of all, they had a really interesting strategy, which is funny because it's exactly the same thing they did in the 1950s.
Division III. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, which is called blame USC for everything.
Right.
And they give math on it too, actually. And the math they give is that USC has caused this big mess, and the big mess is devastating. And UCLA is pretty much worthless. And so UCLA isn't costing Cal any money, but USC is costing Cal a
Those
for a second there, Tony.
Oh,
Look
you guys
like you're
froze up.
about.
Oh, can you hear me?
We can hear you, but you're frozen.
Yeah, you're fine.
Oh, is that my internet?
Might be. Is that SoCo Wi-Fi?
Okay, sorry. My internet was being weird.
There you go.
Did you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Where did it cut out?
Where did it cut out? I don't remember.
UCLA didn't cost us money. USC did.
Yeah, blaming USC.
Blaming
USC.
So they evaluated it as saying that USC is costing each school in the Pac-12 $10 million in annual media revenue.
Okay.
But that UCLA will then only cost each school in the Pac-12 $3 million. So the effect of UCLA leaving is only going to cost Cal $3 million.
Okay.
Now, they also point out that as far as the whole University of California is concerned, the windfall to UCLA is giant. So the only loss to Cal is $3 million, which in the University of California system, which is the largest, I think it's the largest university system in the country, like $3 million is like the toilet paper in the women's bathrooms.
Tony, I'm confused though. Hold on. So I thought so it sounds like the opposite of what was being projected. I thought this meeting was using UCLA to try to block UCLA and USC from, well, they can't block USC, but maybe it would hurt the Big Ten. But it sounds like they tried to minimize the effect that UCLA would have if they left.
I'm talking about the report. So the report is what UCLA presented to the Regents.
Okay. So there's
and actually not UCLA. Actually, I spoke wrongly. The president of the university, so UCOP, University of California Office of the President. So UCOP, the Office of the President, presented a report, which was, remember, what happened was they assigned the university to, write a book report. Why were you mean to Cal on your summer vacation?
Gotcha.
And that's and that's what they did. They wrote a report. Why were you mean to Cal on our summer vacation? And it's like, because it was a lot of money and it was USC's fault.
So what did the Regents say?
So one of the other things we found out, by the way, is some of the Regents knew. Now, some of the Regents are not ever involved in athletics because they have these different policy things, right? It's sort of like in Congress when they talk about intelligence, like, yeah, some of the people in Congress know all the secrets happening, and some of the people are just dumbasses who spout off in the news media. So what happened yesterday is the people who understood what they were doing sat there quietly. And remember, too, that Cal and UCLA since 1926 are actually equal. They are equal co-flagships, even though Berkeley's the oldest. They're legally equal co-flagships. And the Regents have like sort of northern powers and southern powers like within themselves. So the southern powers shut up, and the important people who knew what was going on shut up, and a bunch of the people who don't know anything at all about college athletics spouted off. So you heard people say things like, well, Cal should just join the Big Ten. This makes sense. Okay, well, it's not an option.
That's what I said.
So what you're explaining actually makes sense as far as the Pac-12 keeping out other California schools like San Diego State, Fresno State, whoever, because basically Cal and Stanford control the North. And
no, not at all. I must not have been very clear in that. What I mean is, among the Regents, there are some from the North and some from the South. So there's people that are like more invested in the LA area and people that are more invested in the San Francisco area. There's statewide politicians. There's rich people. It's not dominated by one or the other. So like, for example, the University of Michigan Regents, even though there's University of Michigan Flint, University of Michigan Dearborn, or no, is it Dearborn? I think it's in Dearborn. Like Ann Arbor is in charge of everything.
Right.
Like Penn State.
They don't even have to say
like the University of Alabama.
Just like Alabama. Yeah, UAB is not
UAH.
Yeah, they're not compared. But in California, UCLA and UC Berkeley are co-equal flagships, even though Berkeley is sort of like the original one. And that goes back to 1926. What'd you say? Sorry.
They're almost considered as a stepchild now.
Well, UCLA has always felt it was the stepchild, even when they were equal. And so they often had to do like other things. And they did things like like they stopped them UCLA from building a stadium when UCLA tried to build a stadium in the 60s and some stuff like that. So
there was animosity between the two schools after all.
There's always been animosity. UCLA has always felt like the stepchild, and Cal, like a divorced parent, throws money at the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's similar to how Texas and Texas A&M act towards each other too. Quite similar.
There's a lot of that, yeah. But going forward, so where this gets interesting is going forward. What happens? So in 1991, the Regents delegated power for contracts about athletics to be given to the chancellors, meaning the Regents were not making decisions about contracts over athletics. The chancellors had that power. So there's the president of the university and a chancellor for each campus. Okay. So that power was designated in 1991 to those chancellors, and since then there's been no issue with that. Now these two schools have a weird history of sports because until 1960, the students ran sports, the school didn't. So the athletic director and the football coach answered to the president of the student body, not to the president of the university.
Gotcha.
And there's still some weird ties because of that. In 1960, the university was like, we're taking control, but they still do things like the athletic department at UCLA pays rent to the university for its facilities, things like that. It's like some of it doesn't make a lot of sense.
That's weird.
There's a lot
that actually explains the Rose Bowl thing.
Well, the Rose Bowl is separate. The Rose Bowl is owned by the city of Pasadena,
right,
and has nothing to do with UCLA. And the Coliseum is owned jointly by the city, the county, and the state, even though it's right across from USC.
So UCLA didn't have to pour any type of money to either facility?
No, the stadiums are both owned by the public. Okay. UCLA's not had to put a lot of money into the Rose Bowl because it gets renovated for things like the World Cup and all that. Right. USC recently, this is just a side thing separate from this, took over management of the Coliseum and put $400 million into renovating it.
And it looks great.
Yeah, but USC took over and did that. It was a huge drama where USC got so mad at the city they almost moved to the Rose Bowl too.
Oh damn!
USC literally had a press conference and announced they were going to the Rose Bowl. They were so mad. That's neither here nor there. But know that there's a lot of history of weird issues of delegations of power. So some of the regents said, well, how do we take that power back? And the general answer is you really can't. The contract is done. But if they were going to be really, really, really antagonistic, maybe. But remember that a lot of those regents also sat there with their mouths shut and didn't say anything stupid. One of the other regents suggested, well, why doesn't Cal just move to Division III so we don't have to deal with this?
Yeah.
So tell me, is the region who, and remember also, last time in the 1950s when USC and UCLA caused a big mess and blew up the conference, and they did, the whole conference went away. GBD knows the Pac-12 is actually a reboot. It's actually part 2. Cal and Stanford tried to join the Ivy League. And Cornell and Penn were all about it. Harvard said, F no.
Probably regret.
Yeah.
Probably
so by the way, scared. Remember, guys, when they say, should we just get rid of scholarship sports? None of this is new. They literally tried that before. They literally tried to join the Ivy League. And Harvard was like, absolutely not. And Penn was like, let's do it.
That sounds like Penn.
Yeah, that
definitely sounds like Penn.
Yeah, Penn used to. Yeah, Penn used to pick out.
Let me ask you this. So the result of this meeting, are they seriously for real trying to block UCLA from going to the Big Ten?
So the result of the meeting looks like it's going to be they have a new proposal.
Okay.
And the new proposal is going to say it's going to change the rules, and it's going to say from now on, if a decision about athletics that is going to affect more than 10% of the budget, the regents have to be officially informed.
Okay, but what about the here and now?
GBD, didn't you hear my new rule? But from now on, if there's a decision,
but what I'm saying is that happened before this new rule. Does that?
Oh, GBD, you've never worked for the government, have you?
Yeah.
No, they don't want to do anything at all.
It's not going to change anything. It's like if you're dealing with government, no matter what.
Okay.
What has happened, they can't do nothing about it. They can't force it.
Don't make it federal.
He knows it.
That's why I was trying to clarify.
So here's the next best part. Let's do the math on this. UCLA has a budget of what, $160 million?
I have no idea.
Yep.
It's about that.
Yeah, probably.
So how much do they say UCLA is going to cost? You leaving is going to cost Cal?
$3 million.
$3 million.
3 million.
Is that more than 10%?
Nope.
Absolutely not.
Not even close.
So what's going to change?
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. But
So
the rule will change. 10%.
The meeting was pointless, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they changed a rule, and maybe in the future.
Well, they haven't even changed it yet. They've considering changing it.
For the here and now, it does nothing.
Does nothing.
Okay.
Now, but remember, there's a lot of rich people who donate in politics who are from Cal and Stanford and are peeved.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So was the meeting really pointless?
They're trying to stroke those ones that come from that so they can keep the donations coming into our campaigns.
Yeah. And also,
Right.
Cal and Stanford are really mad.
That makes sense.
California politics are weird enough as is.
Well, and think about it. If you're the chancellor of Berkeley, if you're Dr. Christ, so remember, you technically work underneath the president of the university.
Right.
And you're equal to Gene Block from UCLA, the chancellor at UCLA. So you're like partners. You like each run your great division of your fabulous university. Those are, I think they are the two. I could be, it depends on exactly which ranking you're using. But UCLA and Berkeley are typically the two most highly ranked public schools in the country or arguably the world, right? Like these are two elite schools. They sit together, they work together, and the president of the university is over both. And if you're Cal, your boss, who used to be president of Ohio State, he was chancellor at UC Irvine, then president of Ohio State, and now president of the whole University of California. So your boss let your coworker screw you over.
Wow. I never thought of it like
That's why
that.
they're so mad. And not only that, but here's another thing.
Only in politics you can do that.
Oh, it gets even worse too.
Fight.
Yeah, here's the other thing that happened over the past several years. So Cal's stadium is built on an earthquake fault. Literally, the earthquake fault goes underneath the field. And it's actually in two pieces. It was built so that if there's an earthquake, the two pieces of the stadium will actually like slide next to each other and like mess up the field in the middle. It'll be fine. It's grass. Or it used to be grass. So Cal had to do a seismic renovation of their stadium. It's from the 20s. And it cost like $400 million. And Cal Athletics was not making money. They were not doing well. They were losing money. Cal was losing money. So the chancellor of Cal decided to spend university money to bail out the athletic department. So they did. He did. Because the University of California said athletics are something that is important to us. It's important to our students. It's important to our alumni. This is an important thing for our university. We will bail out some of your debt. UCLA was like, oh, wow, sucks to be you, athletics, with all your debt. And now UCLA is like, oh my gosh, guys, we're broke. We have to join the Big Ten because we're broke. And Cal's like, yeah, so are we, but we spent the money, and you people didn't.
Oh man, that's worse than I thought.
Yep.
And
They're going to get the money this way.
UCLA's like, what? Sorry, I didn't hear you. Anyway, we're still broke. We just have to join the Big Ten.
I didn't put two and two together. I didn't realize you could look at it as coworker type of thing like that. That blows my mind.
The only way you see the only time you see this is in government and in the military.
Man.
Yeah, it's military too. Exactly.
I'm former military. I know what you're talking about, man.
You see it exactly, don't you?
Yes, it's like it's like that one. You're both E4s, then he gets promoted over you, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to screw
That's
you
exactly
over."
it. That's
your
exactly
boss,
what the Big Ten is, a big promotion.
Yeah. And your boss just like let it all happen and didn't tell you a thing.
Yeah. He's what the boss is wearing sunglasses like.
Quick shout out to the silent majority. Retro Bowl. Everyone needs to download that game on their phone. Super fun. I have that downloaded. I've won like 20 championships on that game. It is super fun. But once you figure out how to play it, you can dominate the game. It's still fun though. But I had to point that out. That's a great comment. More people need to download that.
About Cal
it's a great app.
What about Cal?
We all have those times where we're bored. That's a great app. Retro Bowl.
About Cal, I was hearing Cal was also saying they might have to shut down some programs for athletics.
And UCLA said the same thing. But I will say the office of the president made a really good argument. And by the way, you guys, the report's really funny. In blaming USC, when you look at the footnotes, like one of the footnotes is just a link to USC's bowl history. The thing literally sounds like they're licking at USC's dong while they're doing it. They're like, "Oh my God, USC is so important and powerful.
So they
couldn't do anything."
They're pointing out how USC has had all this success, and it helps them how.
Well, their point is USC has all the success. USC is where all the value's from. And so the damage to the conference is not UCLA's fault. So the math they give is they're like, here's the conference financials for UCLA and Cal in the Pac-12 without USC.
Gotcha.
Now, what's the extra difference to lose UCLA? It's an extra $3 million. So that's only $3 million that UCLA is costing Cal.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's an extra $60 million or whatever that the University of California will be getting from the Big Ten.
Gotcha. This is an interesting.
And they don't. Cal doesn't get the.
Hold on, let me get the super chat. This is an interesting super chat by Sergeant Pickles 13. Thank you for the $1.99 donation. Says
what's up, Sergeant Pickles?
7 Rose Bowls, 6-10 win season since 2010. That's actually impressive. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
No, not 7 Rose Bowls since 2010.
They haven't been to 7 Rose Bowls since 2010.
Yeah, they've been like 2.
The 7 is off.
Well, 7 Rose Bowls overall. 7 Rose Bowls
overall.
6-10 win season.
That needed to be a period instead of a
semicolon.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, that's kind of bad, though. 7 Rose Bowls, that's how many Bama's been in. We haven't been able to go to the Rose Bowl the last, 70 years?
Well, anything compared to Bama's resume is going to look like trash.
The funny thing is, guys, when you think about it, so the Pac-12 is historically, other than like the World War II to 1960 was bad, but other than that, the Pac-12 has really pretty much dominated the Rose Bowl. And the funny thing is that that's why we laugh, because USC and UCLA together make up 46 Rose Bowls, 47 Rose Bowls, something like that.
About that, yeah.
So it's
I don't know how many they faced the Big Ten in, but it was pretty interesting.
You know what a side effect that nobody's talking about that I've thought about several times? So, the Rose Bowl has traditionally been the Pac-12 versus the Big Ten, right? Champion versus champion. And I know the playoffs have kind of thrown that off because sometimes it's rotated into the playoffs, and then sometimes the champion of the Big Ten goes to the playoffs. So it's champion of the Pac-12 versus the runner-up, like last year, Ohio State. But with UCLA and USC going to the Big Ten, and again, the Rose Bowl is the home stadium of UCLA. I know they don't own it, but it's their home stadium. The state of California owns it, in the county and city and all that stuff. So another bonus that maybe the Big Ten thought about, maybe they didn't, I don't know, is the Big Ten could essentially start being able to control the Rose Bowl.
Very much so. So, I mean, the other catch, by the way, so UCLA plays there. When you talk to the people who actually sort of know the history of the stadium itself, so one of the main reasons for the Rose Bowl being the giant stadium that it is because of USC.
Yeah.
And USC's alum, because UCLA did not move there until 1984.
Yep.
The Rose Bowl sat empty during the season until 1984. UCLA used to play at USC Stadium at the Coliseum. They shared the Coliseum.
Yes.
And they shared the sports arena until they built Pauley Pavilion.
Yeah.
So they share they have a weird history. It's like your neighbor who's sort of your rival but sort of your friend. And you both really hate the people from the next city over, which would be San Francisco.
Now, Tony, was it 1942 that the Rose Bowl was moved to Duke Stadium because of the war? Was that 42?
Yes, 42. It might. Yeah, I think it was actually yes, because it was right after Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Right. Quick reminder to everybody in the chat: if you haven't, please hit the thumbs up button. Even if you don't like me or any of my guests or this video, that's not really saying that you like the video. It just helps the video. The more likes and the more comments we get, the more it hits the YouTube algorithm, and the more it hits the YouTube algorithm, the more it gets suggested. So if you would, please click the like button. It greatly helps the video. And I want to thank everybody that's already hit the like, because look, the audience is growing. It works. We appreciate you.
Can I tell you guys one other thing about the Rose Bowl?
Go ahead. The
people don't understand so I've been to all kinds of bowl games. The Rose Bowl I'm going to say this, and anybody who hasn't been, anybody from the SEC or Big 12 is going to roll their eyes and gag, but I promise it's true until you go. Ask the Texas people. The Rose Bowl is unlike any other bowl game. It literally has this magical glow to it. The parade is just parades are boring and stupid, but this parade is somehow amazing when you're there and you see it. Like there's nothing like the parade and the game and the atmosphere and just everything about the Rose Bowl is unlike anything else. So when you hear people talk about, the Rose Bowl, and I know like you see people that just like Brandon Walker can't stand the Rose Bowl. Craig Smoke hates the Rose Bowl. But I'm telling you, if any of them ever went, they would be like, this is kind of
even
awesome.
the little things about it, just like that sign that lights up, that's the rose. Like even that pops out. They've thought of every little detail that makes it pop, and including the parade. So yeah, well said, and I 100% agree. It will always forever be, in my opinion, the granddaddy of them all, not just because of the age of the Rose Bowl, but because of everything that goes with them. I want to encourage everybody.
By the way, WVU fans,
if you're a college football fan, please hit the like and subscribe button because that's all we do here. We do live shows every weekday, sometimes on the weekend, but definitely on the weekdays. And, of course, I do videos every single day. So if you are a college football fan, this is the channel for you. You're not going to like all my videos, but, I mean, what channel is there that everybody's going to like every single video? There's not many. So I strongly encourage you, if you're a college football fan, please hit the like and subscribe button. I don't think you'll regret it, but, stranger things have happened.
And for your
13, thank you for the $1.99 donation, says the glow is all the smog, Tony.
No, it's true.
But it's cool.
He's totally right. It's actually light refraction through the smog, but it's really magical.
It's a fair point. John Waffle, HTTP,
he's totally right.
Pitt went to 3 Rose Bowls, not trolling. Okay.
Yeah. I know for sure because of being that I was raised in Pennsylvania. Penn State went to it a few times. They were like they loved
Penn State's in the Big Ten, but
it's awesome.
I'm saying with the Rose Bowl.
It's an amazing thing. And I'll tell you, if West Virginia ever gets a chance to go, with who knows how these bowl games work out now, you guys should all go because it's just magical. I mean, I was at the USC Texas one, and that despite the fact that Texas fight still echoes in my head from that game, and Vince Young still haunts my dreams. Like the game was magical. It's magical. I'm sorry, Jeff. I didn't mean to interrupt you. What were you saying?
Tony, I actually lived in Iowa in 81 when Iowa played Washington, and 2 of my classmates were huge Iowa fans. And that was actually the first Rose Bowl I ever went to. I went and watched Iowa play Washington.
Was it awesome?
And to me, I mean, me being a Bama fan, I'm going to say the Sugar Bowl is the greatest, but honestly, the Sugar Bowl doesn't have the pageantry that the Rose Bowl. The Rose Bowl would remind you of a 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s game. It's just so cool to go to.
Well, and Jeff, that's
one of my goals. That's I've given people the reason why I started this channel. Eventually, I want to make it to where I can go to as many venues as possible, campuses. Rose Bowl is near the top of my list, definitely top 10. It's going to be one of the stadiums that I go to sooner rather than later.
And I would say go to the Sugar Bowl too, because actually, Jeff, you say that, and I haven't been to a Sugar Bowl, but from what I can tell, the Sugar Bowl is also right up there as just an event with legacy. And in fact, one of the things that sort of has irked me a little bit about the SEC's had amazing success in the last few years, and so it's all shifted to the college football playoff. And it actually ticks me off that I think the Sugar Bowl, which has almost the same sort of cachet as the Rose Bowl, has lost some of that because New Orleans is so fun, and to be there for the Sugar Bowl with I can't imagine that with both fans everywhere. That would just be awesome.
I also really want to go to the Cotton Bowl, Texas, Oklahoma for the Cotton Bowl would be really cool.
Yeah.
I'll tell you guys, though, if you want to go to a game, and this is the only game that ever made me cry. And I was an adult.
Oh, boy.
Go see Army Navy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say,
I want to go to one of those.
So do I.
I've been, guys. It's awesome.
Let me ask you this. I saw a comment in the comment section.
Army Navy's unlike anything else.
Yeah.
That's the game everybody watches.
They have their own Saturday, so it's special. But there was a comment in the comment section. The Orange Bowl was pretty great. I think the Orange Bowl used to be pretty great. Recently, it's kind of fell flat. Even whenever it hosted the national championship, it was meh, it's okay. What does the Orange Bowl need to do to make it must watch or must attend again?
So
because at one time it was.
Well, so it's always been. I've been to Orange Bowl. I've been to a couple of them.
Yep.
So and I love Miami. I mean, I'm in Florida right now. But what the Orange Bowl doesn't have, it never has had, is that like connection to place and event.
Right.
Like because it's like the thing about, I mean, just the city of Pasadena and all the Rose and the parade and all that is all together. The Sugar Bowl is in downtown New Orleans, and it's part of the whole being there. The problem with the Rose Bowl is you have like the beach area. The parade was always, I don't even know if they still have it. The parade was really cheesy and like tinsely. Like it's not even a big thing. And the stadium, which the old stadium was a dump. I mean, I love it. I love the history, but like it was a pit. It kind of needed like Yankee Stadium to be like torn down and replaced. Unfortunately, they screwed up what they did. And the new stadium is 45 minutes away in the middle of endless seas of parking lots.
No atmosphere either.
Yeah, no atmosphere. I mean, it's a cool stadium, but it's just a soulless NFL stadium in the middle of parking lots.
Well, I even like the renovations that they did on it. It makes it look better, but
it's great. It's great
still doesn't have any atmosphere. Like it needs. I don't know.
It's a soulless stadium in a suburban parking lot.
Yeah.
And so the problem is, if you were to take that stadium and have it like, I mean, you couldn't put it in Miami Beach or Brickell because like there's nowhere to put it there. But it doesn't have a connection to the sense of place that you get with Yankee Stadium, for example, or Fenway Park, or Soldier Field. Like you got to the idea of a great bowl game and event ties people and place to the event. And the Sugar Bowl does that, and the Rose Bowl does that. And just
the Orange Bowl is like the Fiesta Bowl. The Fiesta Bowl. I mean, it's supposed to be the fourth major one. It don't have the luster either. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying for the Orange Bowl, and I've made the argument for Miami football as far as, I wish they wouldn't have torn down the Orange Bowl. I wish they would have renovated it, something like that. I think that actually goes into the Orange Bowl as well, because if the Orange Bowl itself, the stadium was literally the Orange Bowl, that was the name of it. That's how the bowl, bowl and stadium, and that fits into what you were saying, Tony. Like that would have been a great legacy. Not only is it the Orange Bowl, the bowl, it's the Orange Bowl, the stadium. I just thought that was a horrific, like, I don't know, soul-crushing decision by Miami to tear down the Orange Bowl and especially moving them into a pro stadium. Come on, guys.
Well, I'll tell you, though, the one thing that's probably very true, and I'm not an engineer or an architect, but like
West Virginia hasn't been to the Rose Bowl.
I've been to a lot of stadium. My uncle's a professional baseball coach. So I've been to God only knows how many baseball stadiums, and God only knows how many football stadiums before. The problem with the Orange Bowl is that it did have to go. Like it needed to either do like the Coliseum, where they just put $400 million into fix it. Like the Orange Bowl itself probably had to go, and may have been at the point where it wasn't. Again, I'm not an engineer, but it would not surprise me if it was not really fixable without like $1 billion fix.
Right.
And
I heard a few stories about it too myself.
First of all, they shouldn't have let it get to that point. Like, when it starts,
100%,
do it and keep that stadium going. That was an amazing. People do not realize how awesome that stadium was.
It was, but it was great. But it shook, and that was not necessarily like architecturally good.
That was one of the charms to it. Like a lot of people are like, that was one of the reasons why they didn't want to go on a road game to Miami, because whenever it was really rocking,
it shakes,
literally swayed like that. Like
very intimidating. Like fan experience, that's really cool. Architectural safety experience, maybe not good. And so what they probably needed to do is what they did with Yankee Stadium, or what they did with Dodger Stadium or Fenway Park, where you're doing like a let's tear it down and rebuild it and pretend like it's still the same.
And it has the same dimensions and everything. So
same dimensions, same look. Yeah, you can do that. I mean, that's the LA Coliseum. They spent $400 million doing that.
Right, and I would say even keep some original parts. That way, the history keeps going like that, and I think that would have helped Miami. I don't think Miami would be in the shape they're in right now, and the Orange Bowl would be more talked about, more valued. Stadium, bigger deal than people realize.
Well, the thing that surprises me though is the Rose Bowl has to cause the Big Ten at least 10 to 15 championships. How many times did Ohio State and Michigan go to the Rose Bowl, going to be national champions, and USC are them just knocking away.
It was a curse. I'll tell you guys.
After they joined the Big Ten.
When you guys think about stadiums, do you guys know the story? Do you know the thing from G.K. Chesterton about the white fence in the woods?
No.
So G.K. Chesterton wrote, this is a long time ago, he wrote, if you want to have a white fence in the woods, you have to be continuously repainting it, and every so often you have to tear it down and replace it. Because if you want to have a white fence in the woods, that's what it takes. Otherwise, it's going to decay and fall apart and collapse and not be good. So you have, when you want to think about like old and new, like you have to revive it. You have to like put energy into redoing it and replacing it so that you have of what you really wanted to have in the first place. If you guys ever take a look at Penn's Field, Franklin Field, which looks like scary, decrepit looking.
Oh yeah.
Franklin Field
is actually famous.
Yeah, and it looks like a prison, pretty much.
Well, but here's the thing: Franklin Field was glittery. Franklin Field was the SoFi Stadium. It was the biggest stadium in the country for a while. It's where they did the first ever TV broadcast, the first ever radio broadcast. Franklin Field was a glittery palace of football, and so like. But I mean, now of course they don't put the money in because why would you do that? Because they have like 7,000 fans in a 70,000 seat stadium. Right. But the thing is like you have to remember that when we say like, oh, it's a dump, like you have everything old you have to redo to make new. And so the Orange Bowl probably had to go. The new Miami Stadium that I've seen drawings of would be awesome.
Yeah,
I mean,
like Rudy's brother.
Field held how many Army Navy games? I mean, Army Navy was there every year for the longest time.
I mean, people would be like, "It's our dump. We love our dump." Like,
well, that's what he said about
Penn fans are.
It might be a dump, but it's
their dump. They love it.
Well, and there is something to be said. I'll tell you when it comes to like sharing the NFL stadiums, like to have your dump is your dump. So when UCLA went to the Rose Bowl, the Rose Bowl is 40 minutes from their campus. The Coliseum's like 15, and people were like, oh, Terry Donahue thought it was going to be the worst thing that ever happened to UCLA. And he decided after like 2 games that it was the best thing that ever happened to UCLA because it was like ours. Like we can have our culture. We're not tailgating at USC, playing in a stadium full of red seats, in the visitors' locker room. Like, no, it needs to be ours. And so there is some, if you're somebody that shares a stadium, there is something to be said for we want to have ours. I think like South Florida, I think it's a big thing. And even if you don't have as sparkly a stadium, having your own is probably better.
Yeah.
All right, guys,
ask the team. So I'm like, with the
hold on, guys. Hold on.
Even,
Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. I have another live show coming up. I'm going to multicast it on this channel, Golden Bluetooth, the Mark Rogers main channel, and the Mark Rogers West Virginia, which anybody that's not subscribed to the Mark Rogers West Virginia channel, please do so. Even if you don't watch one single video over there, that's fine. It just gives us tremendous support. So I need to wrap this up because I have about 45 minutes till that show, and I need to eat and all that good stuff. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go around the room, give everybody their last word. We'll wrap this show up, and then we'll do the 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live show. It's going to be on here. Go to Bluetooth, Mark Rogers, voice of college football main channel, and West Virginia. So we will start with Will, the Notre Dame fan. I'll let you do your last word first.
Well, unfortunately we did have a big recruiting bummer with Keon Keeley most likely going to Alabama. But I'm still excited for Marcus Freeman in the future of our team. Like, this is still most likely going to be the best recruiting class.
What about the wide receiver that went down?
Avery Davis is a bummer too. But, next man up, man. We got to go next man up. Like, no excuses. I don't want any excuse that we had injuries to be the reason why we lost to Ohio State. I want to be like, yep, tip the cat. They were better. No more excuses with injuries.
Well done. Good job, Will.
All
right. Tony, what's your last word of the day?
My last word is to West Virginia, to people of West Virginia, because my family's from Mannington. A lot of really crazy, like deranged people from the Big 12 have been assaulting me on Twitter. I need you guys to kick their asses when you play them this fall. Okay. You do that, please?
Yeah, it's a deal. It's a deal.
As a fellow, like some West Virginia blood, whip them, please.
We got you, buddy.
All right, guys. Country roads.
All right,
good.
Man.
Thanks for having me.
Good job, buddy. Thank you. Last word. I'm going to go to TND.
Yeah, so Jay, she's got 50 newcomers this year, all under the watchful eye of Rich Rodriguez. I'm excited for our transition year, and for everybody, and for West Virginia, I got to say, go Mountaineers, kick Pitt's asses, and I'll see you on the next one.
Hey, I'll take that all day long. Thanks, buddy. Robert, what's your last word of the day, buddy?
Well, like what he was saying about the sharing a stadium, you can ask the Philadelphia Eagles and also the Philadelphia Phillies how that is, and also the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Pittsburgh Pirates when with Three Rivers and Vet.
Yep.
Same thing. Anything involving sharing a stadium is, I've heard it from both sides, from the Pittsburgh fans and also the Philadelphia fans. At the same time,
definitely a pain in the rear end.
Yeah, it's like your seats could be red or green, while if you're at Pittsburgh, it could be black or freaking whatever color with them.
Right.
But it was usually blue, which didn't make sense because both teams were black and gold.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah.
Well said, buddy. Well said. And finally, Jeff Graham, what is your last word of the day?
Well, I would like to tell everybody to join Patreon. We had a pretty good show last night. You were there.
Yep,
and,
that was a good one.
What are we, 2 weeks away now?
Less.
And they can start getting in on some free money. All they got to do is guess the score right, and they'll win $20 a week. So
exactly right.
But hey, you have a great night.
Plug your channel real quick.
Oh, Tide Guy. I put 2 videos up yesterday. I'm going to put 2 more up here tonight. It's Tide Guy.
I'll catch up on those 2. I've been really busy, so over the weekend I'll catch up on your videos.
Yeah, my last 5 were bowl records there of all the different conferences I did them. Because everybody's doing realignment, I figured I'd do something different.
That's fair.
All right, man.
All right, buddy.
Have a good one.
Good job. You too. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up this live show, but there's going to be another one on this channel, Voice of College Football, West Virginia Voice of College Football at 8 p.m. So come back and hang out there. Appreciate everybody that come by, watched us, commented, hit the like button. On your way out, if you haven't hit the like button, even though it's not going to be live anymore, it still helps the video to hit the YouTube algorithm. So if you would, please, we would greatly appreciate it. It helps the channel and the video. I want to take a short break, get some food in me, and we'll do it all again here in probably about a half hour, 45 minutes, something like that. All right, guys. So for those of you that I won't see, y'all have a good weekend. And for those of you that I will see, hey, we'll see you in just a few minutes.